Wow. Hey, Grok, put him in a bikini.
What's up, guys? Spenny. This summer I was invited to Fort Bragg to witness a military demonstration, special forces for President Trump. This is what it looked like. And you could see something pretty remarkable, a military black ops helicopter extracting a high-value target from an old building. President Trump was watching with great interest. So you can see here, Donald Trump was having the time of his life, enjoying watching what was a pretty awesome demonstration. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I was watching what was about to happen in Venezuela. Look at this. The same helicopters, probably the same teams. President Trump witnessing what they just witnessed on the ground in Caracas. I was on the back of that Humvee right there. Did a whole video about it. There it is. Anyway, and then here we go. There go the boys. The special forces, Delta Force, rope lining into a building and extracting a high-value target. It was a terrorist they were planning on extracting. And what you didn't realize was that Donald Trump was just witnessing an operation, or maybe coming up with the idea for the operation. Pete Hegseth was with them here for the Venezuela extraction. It's freaking awesome. Anyway, the point is that I've just come to this realization, and it's pretty remarkable, along with some of the remarkable things that the U.S. forces did, and potentially the intelligence forces, certainly the intelligence forces did, in order to turn off all the lights in Venezuela, or at least Caracas.
With U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have.
Due to a certain expertise that we have? Okay. Well, here we go. The Daily Mail here. Operation Absolute Resolve, how the U.S. captured Nicolas Maduro. Pretty amazing article here that details how it all went down. It's pretty amazing step by step, and I think we should go through it here because it is the single most successful special forces mission in my lifetime or yours. Reconnaissance. Last August, CIA operatives were sent to Caracas on a secret reconnaissance mission in hope of grabbing Maduro without unwanted hiccups. Spies were tasked with carefully studying his movements and behavior. Spooks also had an asset within Maduro's circle, feeding their intel directly to the military. Audacious plan to forcibly remove him was put together. The U.S. built up an armada in the Caribbean because rising tensions between the two nations. Maduro knew of the imminent danger he faced. In an effort to evade capture, the 63-year-old began rotating between a half-dozen locations, including multiple forts and fortresses. Elite U.S. troops, including Army's Delta Force, rehearsed their daring plan during a life-size replica of Maduro's safe house, just as SEAL Team 6 did before their nighttime missions to kill Osama bin Laden. Circling above the city at 50,000 feet was a stealth reconnaissance drone, an RQ-170 Sentinel launched from a U.S. naval station in Puerto Rico. It was confirmed that Maduro had gone to sleep in Fort Tunía. With all the pieces in place, Trump approved the operation at the end of December. The military intelligence planners, however, suggested a wait before better weather and cover. And then Trump gave the final go-ahead. In order to capture Maduro and clear an air corridor, more than 150 fighter jets, including F-35s and F-22s and bombers, struck Venezuela's defenses under the cover of darkness, supported by Super Hornets and B-12 Lance bombers, as well as E-2 Hawkeye early warning aircraft, radar jamming. Here are the munitions. Here are those platforms. The targets inside and close to Caracas were hit, including airfields, military bases, telecommunications towers, as well as a network of Chinese origin radars promoted as stealth aircraft hunters. Didn't work out too well. No visible air defense responses were ever detected. Yikes. Meanwhile, explosions were heard at the bases 75 mile away, home to Soviet-built missile launchers. Okay, before and after. Got smoked. Got smoked. Look at this. You can see here, all the missile launchers were gone. And here's how they disrupted all of the telecommunications that President Trump was talking about. How they went. Lights of Caracas were turned off due to an expertise that we had, says Donald Trump. It was dark and it was deadly, and Trump reiterated without giving away any details of the expertise that led to the all-important blackout. Some military experts, however, believe that the U.S. deployed a blackout bomb like they did in the Gulf War. This is a special multi-purpose munition dropped from a warplane, scattered into numerous mini canisters the size of a Coca-Cola can. Equipped with a parachute to slow their descent, they're packed full of confetti-like carbon fiber filaments. Once unleashed, they short-circuit electrical power equipment, such as transformers and switching stations. The use of the blackout bomb remains controversial. While a strike can plunge a city into darkness, it likely shut down power at nearby hospitals. The spring of 2003, Baghdad witness noted lights were out before the American-led invasion. This is how it works. So you just fry the electrical lines. U.S. Special Forces geared up an extraordinary early hours assault on Maduro. Helicopters flew 100 feet above the water, entered Venezuela without detection, covered by the darkness and by the blackout. Maduro loyalists attempted to fight back. One of the helicopters was damaged during a gun battle, but remained flyable. And the operation was remarkably successful. Explaining the operation at a press conference afterwards, Raising Cane said the overwhelming force was a response to Russian-made air shields. Venezuela spent billions to help protect them. They failed to protect them. Elite troops descended into the complex, armed with blowtorches in case they needed to storm through steel doors. FBI hostage negotiator in case Maduro refused to surrender. After overcoming dozens of armed guards in ferocious gun battle, leaving 80 of them dead, Delta Force reached Maduro as he fled from his bedroom with his wife, Celia Flores. Trump said the Venezuelan leader, in the final seconds of power, had tried to reach a steel vault panic room but was unable to close the door. He got bum rushed so fast that he didn't get into that, says Trump. Some U.S. forces were injured, Trump said, but none of them died. 40 Venezuelans were killed, according to the New York Times. The government of Cuba, a longstanding ally of Venezuela, said 32 nationals of their nationals were lost their lives. Weird that the Cubans were defending the Venezuelan leader. Cuba has provided personal security for Maduro since he came to power following Chavez's death. Not clear how many Cubans were guarding the Venezuelan president when they died, or how many just perished elsewhere. And then they brought him to New York. I did want to note that there is a really incredible breakdown on this YouTube channel right here. Channel has almost 2 million subscribers, and this breakdown is remarkable. How Delta Force captured Maduro in Venezuela. And so, shouting out the channel, I wanted to just jump into 3 really interesting quick clips. The first is how the power was blown out. This I find particularly fascinating. Let's go.
We finally have the declassified timeline of how U.S. forces breached the heart of Caracas and extracted Nicolás Maduro. Let's start with step 1. The setup. This didn't happen overnight. For months, the U.S. had been tightening a naval quarantine around Venezuela. The U.S. Gerald R-4 Carrier Strike Group and the U.S. Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group were parked off the coast. The pretext was clear. The U.S. designated the Venezuelan government a narco-terrorist state, specifically targeting the drugs lords, but while the Navy squeezed the coast, intelligence assets were tracking one man. They waited for a specific window, a moment where Maduro was stationary and vulnerable. Step 2. The strike. It began at exactly 2 in the morning Venezuelan Standard Time. High above, several F-35 stealth fighters punch a hole through the enemy lines, destabilizing their anti-air defenses. Like these Russian S-300 missiles located all over the strategic high-value target. With the skies cleared, the path opens for Delta Force helicopters to fly straight towards the mission. Here comes the deception as the helicopters flew. The jets started firing with more strikes as it hit Fort Tuna, the main military base and command center, and La Carlota Air Base, destabilizing Venezuelan air support. Reports from the ground described widespread explosions and a sudden communications blackout. The chaos wasn't the goal, it was the cover.
And here is how they break down the actual extraction of Maduro. Again, fascinating and makes you proud to be an American.
We finally have the declassified timeline of how U.S. forces breached the heart of Caracas and extracted Nicolás Maduro. Let's start with step 1. The setup. This didn't happen overnight. For months, the U.S. had been tightening a naval quarantine around Venezuela. The U.S. Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group and the U.S. Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group were parked off the coast. The pretext was clear. The U.S. designated the Venezuelan government a narco-terrorist state, specifically targeting the drugs lords, but while the Navy squeezed the coast, intelligence assets were tracking one man. They waited for a specific window, a moment where Maduro was stationary and vulnerable. Step 2. The strike. It began at exactly 2 in the morning Venezuelan Standard Time. High above, several F-35 stealth fighters punch a hole through the enemy lines, destabilizing their anti-air defenses. Like these Russian S-300 missiles located all over the strategic high-value target. With the skies cleared, the path opens for Delta Force helicopters to fly straight towards the mission. Here comes the deception as the helicopters flew. The jets started firing with more strikes as it hit Fort Tuna, the main military base and command center, and La Carlota Air Base, destabilizing Venezuelan air support. Reports from the ground described widespread explosions and a sudden communications blackout. The chaos wasn't the goal, it was the cover.
This channel also goes into some pretty remarkable buildups and how the American forces gained air superiority over the country. I encourage you to watch the full video. It is wildly entertaining and an incredible opportunity for America to demonstrate its military might. With the Chinese and Russians and Iranians all watching, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. The American century is upon us. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. God bless our troops. See ya.